What's up, guys? It's Zachy J, and today we're going to be talking about the mechanisms of worship. What is up with that? Should we partake in worship? And does worship do anything other than make us look like we belong to the community? Right? Does it make us look like we belong to the religious faith in which we subscribe to? Is there something deeper that is happening at a mechanistic level that we can all look at for worship as a tool? Well, I think there is, because worship has mechanisms and it is doing something particular. And what is exactly is worship doing? Well, let's look a little bit closer, right? When you are actively engaged in worship to, say, a god, gods, concepts, you are worshiping idealistic versions of potentially yourself. Yeah, you're worshiping idealistic versions potentially of yourself. Let's look at some case studies, okay? You're going to, many people worship Jesus, you know, it's because he makes a good role model, right? Jesus makes a pretty solid role model. He goes around healing the sick, you know, turning the tables on hypocrites. And maybe that's somebody we would like to be. So what happens when we worship a thing? Well, we get closer to it. We, we, we get close enough to it that it might start impacting on us and rubbing off on us, right? Well, then how do you explain all those other gods out there, right? There's so many of them. There's like a pantheon of gods, from all the Eastern gods to the Greek gods, Roman gods, pagan gods, what have you, right? And each of them have aspects of themselves that are important for the real world, right? For instance, when you are dealing with certain types of Buddhas, certain types of Buddhas are renowned for their ability to heal people. And maybe you need that healing in yourself. So you pray to them, you worship them, right? Then you have other ones, gods that are more precarious. They're more violent. They have the they have the ability to turn the tides of battle. And if you prayed to them, maybe it's because you needed a little bit of assistance when you were going to battle. So, the worship mechanism is there. And most people are just unaware of it. They're unaware that they actually aspire to be like that God that they are worshiping, that they're inviting these things into themselves. They're inviting the characteristics that they see that are worth embodying. And if they spend time worshiping this being, that's the closest they'll get to it. They might not realize that they can get closer through action. They can get close enough to the thing by transforming themselves, transmuting the parts of them that are getting in the way of them becoming that thing, and transmuting it until they get to their higher selves. They might not realize that, but you can do that and you can get closer. And I bring this up too because some people, when they're worshiping a god, this is common in Buddhism, right? They'll worship the Buddha, and the Buddha's like, "Don't worship me," right? And he made very specific statements not to be worshipped like a religious figure, right? He made that statements because he did not want to get in the way of another person's progress. Yes, he didn't want to get in the way of another person's progress, because if that was the highest thing that person could think of was the Buddha or any of these other gods, that was the highest thing that you could think of, that might be the only thing that you would think of. If that was the highest thing that you could think of, that might be the only thing that you would think of. In regards to worship, you might be stuck with the top of the mountain being completely visible and also being completely inaccessible. When, when it's what's supposed to happen is the worship is supposed to bring you closer to the ineffable. It's supposed to bring you closer to this path that is consistently unfolding, the mountain just seems to be right there. The tip of it just seems to be right there. Right up there. But the closer you get, the more you realize there's still more to go. And if you're worshiping the Buddha and you're afraid to step up into your own power, because how could you compare, right? How could you compare to a Jesus, a Buddha figure? How could you compare to any of one of these gods? You might not, right? But that also might be because of the dynamic of worship, the dynamic that you see for yourself and how you put yourself at a lower level than these other concepts. You strategically placed yourself at a lower level because that might have been the right thing to do on paper, even if ultimately your journey here is a journey to mastery, and that mastery cannot be stopped. It cannot be stopped by a concept like a god. It cannot be stopped by it cannot be stopped by a concept like God. It cannot be stopped by a concept like power or worship. It is consistently unfolding until you reach your highest self, and then once you get there, you just keep going higher. There really is no stop to it. There's just another beginning and another beginning, and we were born again in each moment. And you can either experience it or you can know it. But the sooner you experience it, the sooner you actually get to grow from it. The sooner you get to know it is the sooner that you will be persistently at the crossroads. The crossroad of, what do I do with this, right? Because we all have knowledge that we're not actually using right now. We're sitting on it, hoarding it like a dragon hoards its gold. And we're supposed to be using it dynamically. And this is what worship is supposed to be for us too. It was supposed to be a practice of dynamic growth. It was never supposed to be just a ritual that we perform where we touch our head, bow our head, prostrate ourselves, and that was it. Those were hallmarks of the people that were on the path, people that were showing up in the moment. Those were the hallmarks of them. And then people copy this through a process called over imitation. And this imitation, you can like look at this in evolutionary biology, this over imitation. And they gave like these monkeys a box, right? And they would touch the box on the top, the left, and the right, all over the box in certain patterns, and they would open up, right? And it turns out there's only one real thing that opened the box. There's only one real button that opened the box, and all the other touching of the box was just for show. But the monkeys, they would follow it very specifically because it would lead to the box being opened. So they believed that this pattern of behavior opened the box. And so here we are with over imitations as with our primitive primate animalistic being. We're doing just that. We're tapping the box all over and hoping it opens up when the button was right in front of us the whole time. And that part of evolutionary biology was critical for us getting past certain levels, because certain parts of life are complicated, right? And you have to figure out how something's done, and maybe it's a multi-step process, you know? But sometimes it's easy. And the answer is we're always right in front of you. And the answer is we're never hidden. And still we're going through this elaborate charade of, you know, ritual and culture. We're doing all that for what? Why are we doing it, right? So we have to figure out when we are worshiping, if we're actually showing up or if we're just phoning it in, right? If we are showing up, are we learning how to embody what we are worshiping? Because what we are worshiping is something that we want within too. And what you want within is discoverable because it was already there to begin with. So you have the option. You have the option of using these tools, of understanding the mechanism, and unlocking all the aspects of yourself that you can see in the highest forms you can conceptualize. You can look within and find aspects of yourself that are in these gods, in these forms, and you can unlock them. And why not? Why not go on that journey to unlock these things? You're just at the start. You're just at the start. And there's so much you can do. And all you have to do is keep showing up, and then maybe, just maybe, you will be able to put down some of those concepts and open up the complete infinite nature of your path. That the top of the mountain is not only infinite, but it's also accessible. It's still accessible and it's still infinite. Why not, right? Why not? Anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. Give me a like and subscribe. I would deeply appreciate it. And we're all sharing this thing called consciousness, right? So let's make it a better place for us all. Talk to you later. Have a good rest of the day. Bye.